tuned into The Truth with G. Inspire, educate, and uplift. If you can't handle the truth, this ain't the show for you. The truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So sit back, relax, and buckle up and enjoy this ride.
The Truth with G. The Truth with G. The Truth with G.
All right. Welcome back to the show. You're listening to The Truth with G on WPMM Internet Radio. I am your boy, Gerald Graham. You know me as G. Once again, we are back to talk about the issues that matter to you and your community. Hope all is well with everyone. Hope all is well. Hope everybody had a great weekend. We are at the top of the week. Once again, it is Monday. Back on the grind for most of us that work that Monday through Friday shift. So we're back on the grind today. I hope you guys been safe. It was a hot weekend. It was definitely a scorcher out there this weekend. Got a little bit of break from the heat today, but it was definitely hot over the weekend. So I want to thank you for joining me right here once again on The Truth with G. Appreciate my listening audience. I tell everybody in the world I have the greatest audience in the world, and I want to thank you so very much for tuning in and supporting the show. Last week I was not on last week. I had to had some things to deal with last week, so I wasn't able to do the show on last week. But it is great to be back with you guys. Hope I was missed. If I wasn't, then maybe doing something wrong. But I hope I was missed. But I wasn't able to get on the air, and I'll tell you part of what happened with my week here in a little bit once we get on into the show. But tonight we're going to discuss a few topics, and here in Pensacola, we're still wilding out. We still got all this foolishness going on. We're going to talk about this violence. Also, we're going to talk about when this violence hit close to home as well. Pardon me just a second. So because at some point in time, all this crime is going to affect you. It's going to affect you personally, and I found that out the hard way, if you will. So we'll talk about that here. And also, we're going to talk about the situation in Jacksonville, Florida, the hate crime that took place there where 3 people were killed. We'll talk about that. And if we get to it, with the whole Trump situation, if you haven't been paying attention to that, I'll try to just give you a short synopsis because it's a lot of foolishness going on. Even though there's been 4 arrests, 91 counts, it still seems like the wheels are turning and nothing is happening. So we'll discuss that as well. So let's take care of the particulars so we can go ahead and get on into the show. Views and opinions expressed by individual radio hosts and guests are of their own and does not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of WPMM Radio. WPMM does not intend to align with any religion, ethnic group, club, organization, company, individual, or anyone or anything. Also, we are WPMM Internet Radio. We are on the tutelage of Changing Ride and Music Group LLC. Play the best in R&B, jazz, neo soul, independent hip hop, and old school music. You can listen from the website at WPMMradio.com. You can go to the website as well and download the app. It's a free app. You can go to Google Play Store and the Apple Store as well. Download the app. It's a free download. So you can take it anywhere, any streaming device that you have, phone, tablet, computer, what have you. You can take it with you. We're also live on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch. And if you have someone who may not be tech savvy and don't know how to operate all that, and they have a smartphone, just text WPMMradio.com in the text message. Send it to them. All they have to do is click on it, hit play, and they can listen to the show as well. So, but yeah, it is Monday. We are at the start of the week, and as soon as I get my technology to work right, we're going to be rolling. But it was hot out there this weekend. It was very hot. I hope you're taking care of your people. Hope that you are looking out for the elderly, making sure that they are good, make sure that they're hydrated, cool. If they're in a hot house, get them out that hot house and get them somewhere, some air conditioning. Mr. John is on Facebook. What's going on, my brother? Good to see you on here tonight. Also, on my Facebook page, I did not put the link here on the live feed, but there's a link on the Facebook page to where if anyone want to join in the conversation on the topics that we're talking about, you can click that link and join in live to participate in the show. So do that. Please do that. But again, the topics that we're going to talk about tonight are, first topic we're going to talk about is a little sensitive on my end. But and I just had a thought and I lost it just that quick. That's a sign of getting old. Promise you, that's a sign of getting old. But oh, the storm. Idalia, whatever the storm name is that is down there, that's developing down there in the Gulf, tropical storm at this point. I just want to put you guys on notice that that particular storm, it is developing down in the southern Gulf. It is moving northeast, if you will. So as far as the Pensacola area, we are not in the cone of uncertainty. We are outside of that cone, so we will not experience any type of tropical weather. We may get some rain, from the farther out bands, how it twists around. We may get some rain, but we will not feel the effects of any tropical storms or any hurricanes. So I seen a couple posts earlier where people was, bombarding BJ's and Sam's and whatnot, buying up all the water and everything else. But we are not. We are appear as it stands right now. We appear to be safe in regards to that storm. I think the name is Idalia or whatever the name is, whatever the storm is. It's coming toward the Big Bend area of Florida. You don't know what a Big Bend is. That's somewhere between, east of Tallahassee all the way down into Lake City area. So we are safe in regards to the storm. So no need to panic. No need to go out and hoard items and things of that nature. No need to, create long lines at gas stations. We are good at this point. So if anything changes, listen to your local news. Also, I'll be trying to give you updates as well. But we are safe in regards to the storm. Mr. Cruise Chef, what's going on, dude? Good to see you on there. Miss John, I like the pictures out there. I said, posted of you and your wife. You're absolutely married. See, Mr. John, you got jokes. You got jokes already. I ain't been back in the chair for 10 minutes. You got jokes already. What's going on, Mr. Davis? Good to see you. Good to see you once again tonight, Mr. Davis. Appreciate you joining me. But we're talking about this violence here that we are having in Pensacola. If you haven't been paying attention over the last couple of weeks, the violence in Pensacola is simply outrageous. It is. You would think that we are in South Central LA. You would think that we're in Chicago. You would think that we're in New York or Dallas or one of these big metropolitan cities, the way that this violence is jumping off here in Pensacola. And just to give you a rundown, just the last week and a half or so, we've had individual a couple weeks ago that shot and killed a male that shot and killed a female after he knocked her out. She was unconscious and she got shot 7 times. We had a stabbing death this past weekend at the flea market. Someone was killed at the flea market. We had a situation where a drive-by took place on Mission Road. An individual was shot in the neck, was in critical condition last I heard. We also had a shooting. A man got shot in the leg over on Scott Street. We had a shooting on 6th Avenue last Wednesday. Individual shot in the chest. We had a stabbing at the same establishment that the young lady was shot and killed. That was shot 7 times. There was a stabbing there as well. Get out. Evening, Miss Wanda. Good to see you on here tonight. Good to see you on here. We're talking about the local violence here at this time. Then last night, apparently there was some type of cinema night, a cinema, National Cinema Day or some crap like that, and they lowered the price of tickets at the movie theaters. And apparently we had at both of our major theaters here in Pensacola, on W Street and on Bayou Boulevard. We had fights breaking out there, which forced management to shut the theaters down um, at both theaters. And like I said, I'm just touching the tip of it. This is just stuff that hit the news. There's more that happened that did not make the news, but I'm just touching on stuff that made the news. And this is all in the last 2 weeks. We'll say 2 weeks. Um, and one of the reasons I'm highly perturbed on today. One of the reasons I'm highly perturbed on today is because one of the gunshot victims, the gunshot victim that got shot last Wednesday in the chest, that person was my sibling. That was my brother that was shot in the chest. I know it's probably a surprise to most people listening to hear this, but I have not said anything, posted anything, or said in regards to that individual being related to me. But yeah, that was my brother, my brother next to me that was shot in the chest. And the reason behind that are still not clear. He was shot by an 18-year-old kid. I know a lot of details, but I'm not going to go into the details at this point in time because of obvious reasons. But it was a uncalled for, unwarranted shooting by an 18-year-old kid. I'm not going to give the kid's name. He's been in the news. He's on Channel 3. You can look up his name. I'm gonna leave that alone, if you will. But again, it was a unwarranted, unnecessary shooting by an 18-year-old on a 57-year-old man. What triggered this young man to do this? Still a mystery. But that's the problem that we have in our society today. Is that these young men, these teenagers are out here with guns that they should not have. Thank you, Mr. Davis. I appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Crucial. Ms. Minnie Watkins, appreciate that. Miss Wanda, thank you. Mr. John, appreciate it. Ms. Wanda said, I feel like since we came out of quarantine, the violence had exploded. And it seems like, because we've had issues, in Pensacola for a little minute now, but it's escalating. It's getting worse. It's not calming down. It's not even flattening out. Okay, nephew. Like I say, nephew, I do know. I'm gonna hit you up. Appreciate that, nephew. I'm gonna hit you up because like I said, I do know some details, but the way I was told, the information that came to me, there was no foolishness going on at that particular time. But yeah, I'm gonna hit you up after I get off the air. Appreciate that, nephew. Mr. Reed, appreciate that sentiment, Mr. Reed. Thank you all for the sentiment. But yeah, but it's, even though I come on his show and I talk all the time about the violence that we have in our community, I talk about the violence in our city. I talk about trying to come up with solutions and come up with ideas on how to curb this violence. You're never real ready for that violence to knock on your doorstep, your door, if you will, to sit right on your doorstep and knock on your door. And this, my brother was shot on this past Wednesday night. I got the word. It happened around, according to the police report, it happened right around 9 o'clock Wednesday night. I got the word somewhere around 11 o'clock. It was no, I said it was between 10:30 and 11 o'clock when I got the call to let me know what's going on. And it's frustrating because anytime that you're dealing with gunshot victims, when you're trying to get information, especially from hospitals and things of that nature, everything is hush hush. So just for future reference, if you ever trying to get in contact or get information on someone who has suffered a gunshot wound and they're at the hospital, you're not going to get much information. The hospital is not even going to tell you that they have that person at the hospital. So, but once I found out where he was, I ventured out to the hospital that night, and even still being at the hospital, they were not going to allow me in. They still wouldn't even give me the solid information that he was in that hospital. But and I understand that, but it's frustrating. It's frustrating when you're dealing with your family members and you're trying to get information on your family members, and everything is hush hush and everything is locked down or what have you. It's frustrating, even though I understand. But when you're in that position, it's not a very good feeling not to have information. So I really didn't get information. I got enough information to know that he was alive, that he was had been stabilized, and that's pretty much all I knew until the following morning. But he was shot by an 18-year-old kid. Reason still unknown. So, and that is just part of the reality that we are living in. And I'm not the first person who have had a loved one, a family member, a sibling, a brother, sister, husband, wife, what have you, that has been shot. I'm not the first one. But I now know what these other families are dealing with. I now know the anxiety that is attached when you get that phone call to say your family member has been a victim of a gunshot. I know the anxiety. I know the adrenaline. I know the rush, the adrenaline rush that you get. The concern, the uncertainty, the not knowing, the not knowing if that person is going to live or die. And at this point in time, again, it was a gunshot wound. They were saying he was, the information I got, they were saying that they didn't know nothing in the beginning. But I did eventually found out after midnight. Again, this happened at about 9 o'clock. It was after midnight when I got just a little bit of information that said that they did not even give me any medical information. All I was told that if it was worse, which I took it as if he was dead, we would have been notified. So all I knew from 10:30 up until about 7:30 that next morning is that he was alive. Didn't know his condition. But when you shot, and the news reporting he was shot in the chest. So when so obviously there's some damage that has been done. By the grace of God, he spent what's today? Today is Monday. He was finally got out of the ICU on yesterday. They moved him out of ICU on yesterday. So still has a long way to go. He'll be hospitalized for uncertain amount of time. We're not sure of that quite yet. But the fact of the matter is, he was shot by an 18-year-old kid. We don't know what was going on in the mind of that 18-year-old kid. I don't know if that 18-year-old kid talked to the police and told his side of whatever it was. It wasn't a situation where there was a fight or anything of that nature. It wasn't a situation where anybody's life was threatened at the point in time. My understanding that everything was pretty calm at that moment when the gunshot rang out. So I think, again, information will come out eventually. And like I said, I know a little bit more, but I'm not going to put as much out there. But it was unwarranted. It was unnecessary. So that individual that shot him, it's not a matter of when it goes in front of the justice system, it's not a matter of who done it. It's just a matter of why and what will be the consequences behind it. I'm not going to speculate. I'm going to follow it and see what happens. But I can tell you this, that 18-year-old has pretty much squandered the next 15, 20 years of his life because he was charged with attempted murder. So I can tell you that he has squandered the 15, 20 years of his life. So that's usually the minimum sentence under attempted murder charges is 20 years. I suspect that there will be a plea at some point because, again, it's not a matter of who done it. It's just a matter of why. So I would suspect that there will be a plea deal struck in this situation. I don't have to say so over, whatever, because my brother is still living. He will have the opportunity to give his statements or whatnot and give his impact statement on what he think that should happen or whatever in the courts or whatever. So whatever he chooses to do is whatever he chooses to do. But we still have an 18-year-old kid that has thrown away probably 20 plus years of his life. And we have too many of these young people that are doing the same thing. So for those who, I had not talked to many people in regards to this situation. I have let a handful of people know. Some of you are hearing this for the first time. Even some family members may be hearing this for the first time. But just know he is out of ICU. By the grace of God, he is on his way toward recovery. It will be a rocky road getting there, but he's on his way toward recovery. But in our situation, we're lucky. In the situation of the young lady that was shot, again, another violent act that took place in Pensacola. Young lady was shot after being in a fight with another young lady. Then the boyfriend of the girl that was in a fight with knocked the girl out and shot her 7 times after she was unconscious. I don't know, and this individual was that done it. I would have thought that he was a smarter individual. Just based on he's 25, still young, but he had a pretty decent job, and I would have thought that he had more sense than that. So let's read a couple of comments. If you just joined us, we're talking about the violence here in Pensacola that has taken place over the last couple of weeks, which we have had numerous situations in regards to violence. Mr. John said, I've loved my city all my life. However, lately I haven't liked it. This is crazy. Miss Minnie said, it's so sad, G, but it's not going to get any better. The Bible is fulfilling. We are living in the last days. Mr. Larry Pugh, good to see you on. He says people have lost the respect of life. and I believe that, Mr. Pugh. I believe that wholeheartedly. That and I hate to keep picking on the younger generation because we do have some old heads that's still knuckleheads as well. But the trend right now is that these young people are committing these shootings. The young people are more the victims of these shootings as well. My brother happens to be uh, an exception to the rule in this case because there's not a lot of older people that are being affected. However, he was shot by an 18-year-old. Um, as far as the situation on Mission Road, this took place, I think it was last night, if I'm not mistaken, or the last night. What's the date? I keep losing track of my days. This was Saturday night on Mission Road, where an individual, they said there's a drive-by individual shot in the neck. My last I heard it, in regards to his condition, that individual was in critical condition. I have not got an update today in regards to the condition of that gunshot victim, but he was shot in the neck. Uh, I have not seen there's still an arrest. There's the TNW flea market on East T Street. I'm sorry. That took place on Saturday, if I'm not mistaken. But that was a result of an act of violence. I'm assuming because it was a stabbing. I have to assume that a fight had broke out and the stabbing took place in regards to that fight. Again, that's assumption. That's not fact. That is not fact. So don't take that as fact. Again, I don't want to put any rumors out there, but at some point in time, that took place. And then we had the shooting on West Scott Street on Friday night, where an individual was shot in the leg. Not sure that the condition of that person, my understanding is that it's not life-threatening. However, I had never been shot, but I can assure you that even though it may not be life-threatening, I can tell you, I can assure you that people who have been a victim of a gunshot tell you it's not a comfortable feeling. It's not a good situation to be in. So, and then we had the fights. We had the fights at the theaters. And I was looking for information on the story. I'm trying to see if there's an update on the story on the drive-by on Mission Road. If you don't know what Mission Road is, most people that grew up in Pensacola refer to it as the bottom. Right off of Fairfield over there. Again, it's still the same report in regards to that shooting. A man in critical condition after drive-by shooting in Escambia County on Saturday night. Escambia County deputies responded to the shooting in 2000 block of Mission Road. When they arrived on the scene, they found one male with a gunshot wound to the neck. Multiple rounds of ammunition were also found in the roadway. Officer says the man was taken to a hospital and remains in critical condition. No known suspects. Again, at this point in time, nobody has been arrested for that. No one has been arrested for the stabbing at the flea market. I think there was an arrest in regards to the shooting on Scott Street. But we have a lot of unsolved homicide, unsolved acts of violence where these people are still out there on the street somewhere. And the sad part is a lot of people know who these people are. But we are living in a day and age where one, people are scared. They may be scared to talk. Two, they live under this no snitching code. Or three, they're okay with people who are capable of taking a life, especially in the commission of a crime. They are okay with those people still walking the streets. And I know there are some people that die of what we would call a homicide, if you will. Homicide is simply dying at the hands of another individual. There are some situations where people die and people get injured in situations where it may be warranted, in an act of self-defense, things of that nature. Uh, but when these people are dying on purpose, thought out acts of violence, drive-bys, contract killings, uh, stalking and following people to a destination and then killing them once they get there, things of that nature. Those are crimes that I feel can be prevented. But how? I think they can be prevented, but we have to come up with solutions as to how can they be prevented. What can we do as a society? What can we do as a community to get this violence under control? And I know that a lot of people will say it starts at home, which is a true statement. It does start at home. However, it doesn't always, the home is not always the problem. And I've said this, and I've said again, there are people who have committed these type of crimes, that have committed these drive-bys and these murder for hires and these beef, you got beef with someone and shootings, whatever. There are people who have committed these crimes that come from good, solid backgrounds, that come from good homes, that come from Christian religious homes, that come from strict homes, that come from homes with both parents in the house, that come from homes where they had rules and regulations that they had to follow while they were at home, where they had chores to do, where they had, a curfew, where they had times to where their free time was done after they done their chores and after they done all their homework or whatever, and it was monitored as far as where they went and who they went with. But at some point in time in life, these teenagers become adults, legal adults. And even prior to the age of 18, they develop their own mindset. And once they develop their own mindset, regardless of how they came up and how they were brought up and what rules and regulations that they had and what Bible they read and things of that nature, once they become their own individual person and they feel that they are their own individual person and that they can do what they want to do, they have a choice. They can either continue to follow the structure that they have been given all their life, or they can go left. And we do have a lot of them that tend to go left, even after they have had that proper upbringing. So I hate to kind of give credence to when people say it's their home training. That is the case in a lot of cases, but it's not always the case. We do have parents that are not being parents. We do have parents that are trying to be their kids' friends versus being their parent. And by being their friend, they allow things to happen that shouldn't happen. And once that individual develops that pattern, they normally continue that pattern. These adolescents can tend to mimic what they see. They tend to adapt to the environment that they live in. They tend to conform to the negative influences around them if they are in a negative situation, if they're living in a rough neighborhood or what have you. They tend to buy into those elements of negativity, if you will. But even with that, I can't say that I give that any type of justification because I can only compare it to my own life. I can only compare it to myself. I can only compare it to people that I've been around. And, growing up, I was around people that committed crimes, that did this, that, and other. I know people that has committed murder. I know people that has been murdered. I know people that have committed robberies and things of that nature. I was around those type of people. Those people were in my environment, if you will. However, I was, I hate to use the word smart enough. I was in tune with reality. I did not allow those negative influences to pull me into being a part of those negative actions. And I know everybody's brain don't operate the way that mine does. But I have to believe that our young people have common sense. They have the ability to make a decision, and they have to know what's right and what's wrong, and they choose to do the wrong thing. And they choose to do it is because they see it being done. And they choose to be like that person that's out there robbing and stealing and selling the drugs or whatever. They choose to be that person versus seeing that, following that person that got good grades in high school, that went on to college or went on after graduated high school and went on and had a great job or career wise, or whether it was going to college or not. They choose not to go that route. They're fascinated by the one that's selling the dope. They got the money, and they don't own any property. Probably don't even own a vehicle, but they selling the drugs, and they flashing the little $100 that they made on the corner that day. Like they balling, but and that draws these teenagers toward that lifestyle, and they choose to go that direction, even though they may have had a proper upbringing. But I have come to the conclusion that in regards to coming up with a solution to this violence, that it's going to start. The violence not going to start to come down until we can get every adult to be an adult. We need to get every adult to one. If you with that foolishness at this point in time, you need to stop it. If you're an adult, you need to stop selling the drugs. You need to stop robbing people. You need to stop shooting people. You need to stop providing these kids with these guns because they're not buying them themselves. They're getting them from somebody. Adults have to be adults. Adults have to be positive role models. If we can get every adult to be a positive role model, the young people won't have any negative influence to pattern themselves off, especially coming from an adult. So therefore, it'll trigger in their minds that I have all these adults around me that's doing the right thing. I have all these adults around me that's giving me good advice, that's giving me solid advice, that's giving me the information that I need to grow and prosper. And I don't have that negative influence from an aunt, uncle, from grandfather, whoever, whatever. Now they don't really have that influence. And most of you say, well, they can get it from another teenager, if you will. Yeah, they can. But if all adults are being adults, all teenagers are learning the same thing. Mr. John put a comment in the comment section. He said, "Seeing that people just don't have respect for the law, not even former presidents." Well, I'm gonna talk about that idiot here in a minute if I get to it. But this topic here, and with the deterrence, I don't know about you. I don't know about you, but one thing that kept me from doing criminal acts. I'm not going to say I'm an angel and I did everything right or whatever, what have you, but I made sure that I did not do anything that was criminal. I made sure that I wasn't doing stuff that was going to land me in jail. Have I done a couple things that could have landed me in jail? It's happened once or twice. Yeah, I was young. I was 14 years old. Did something that could have landed me in jail if I had got caught. Nothing major, nothing violent, just experimenting. And if I had got caught, whatever, yeah, I could have went to jail on some BS or what have you. But I was 14. It happened one time. But I was always scared of jail. I was scared of jail, and I was scared of what my mom was going to do if I got caught up in something stupid. But I just never wanted to go to jail. That was my deterrent. Mr. John says sometimes street life is all people want, and because that's all they see. And Mr. Adam, most time that's all they see. That's why they want it. And the the flashing of the money and things of that nature, and sometime a drug dealer gets smart and might buy them a new car or something, but they still don't own no property, they still ain't got no life insurance, so you still being an idiot. But anyway, jail was a deterrent for me. I did not want to do anything illegal because I did not want to go to jail. And it seems that our young people these days don't care about going to jail. And the facts behind that statement is because these young people continue to do stupid shit to land them in jail. And then when they get to jail, they want to blame the man. I know our judicial system is not perfect. I know our judicial system is weighed against black and brown people. I know it's unfair, and the sentences handed out to black and brown people are more harsh than what white people get. The convictions are more frequent with a black defendant than a white defendant. I understand all that. But once you put yourself in position to be in the system, once you position yourself to give someone else authority over your life, because once you commit that crime, you giving that sheriff or the police department authority over your life to lock you in a jail. Then you giving those correction officers authority over your life to treat you and tell you when to go and when to go to sleep and when to wake up and when to go to eat and when to shut up, when to stand in this line, when to put your hands on the wall, when to put your hands behind your back. And when you're putting yourself in position for those people to control your life. And then when you get to prison, you're giving those guards and that warden permission to control your life. And with all that, that's not a deterrent for these young people because they continue to do stupid shit. So if jail is not a deterrent, if the parents getting in trouble with the parents is not a deterrent, if death is not a deterrent, because if you're about that life, if you're out there in the streets, if those things are not a deterrent, what is going to stop these people from acting like idiots? Yeah, that was a basic training but type setting. However, in basic training, you just didn't sit around and shoot the shit all day. You didn't sit around and play cards and dominoes all day. You bust your ass all day. And I think if I don't advocate any type of inhumane treatment for anybody because we're all still humans, even though we have people that commit crimes and are criminals, and some of them complete some heinous acts. But I still think we're human beings. But I think that if the prison systems were more like training, more like basic training, military basic training, I think that we'll get a little bit more out of it. If nothing else, it may be a deterrent because people don't want to go through that. It may be a deterrent because, as far as if you do go and you're subjected to the daily uh, rigmarole of basic training type of activities, you're not going to want to go back there. But if you're going back and forth out in and out of prison, because the recidivism rate is ridiculous, to where people that's returning back to jail or back to prison. And I know in our Florida prisons is the conditions are terrible. Which why do you want to be there? Once you get out, why would you want to go back? We live in Florida. It was 102 degrees the other day. Most of these prisons don't have air conditioning. So you hot all day, you hot all night. These prisons don't have any type of, most of them don't even have any type of rehab or any type of programs that they're actively doing right now because of the short staff or whatever, to give you something to build on for when you do hit those gates and come out. So why are we doing stupid shit? Why are young people acting up like this? What is the deterrent? What is it going to take? I'm looking for ideas. I'm looking for ideas. I'm looking for ideas. I'm looking for solutions. But I can tell you this, and how we get every adult on board, I don't know. But if we can get every adult to be an adult, if we get every adult to be a positive role model to these young people, I think we can start making some progress. Mr. Adams asked, why do they want to go there in the first place? I think their first initial visit is, they don't understand the meaning of being free. They don't understand the benefits of being free until they get locked up. But if they get locked up and they get a slap on the wrist where they do something stupid and they spend 30 days in lockup or whatever, they come out thinking, okay, I did those 30 days, when I survived it was only 30 days, so I'm gonna go back to doing what I was doing. And again, I'm not advocating for people to stay in prison all their life because I think redemption is in each and every one of us. I think we can all be redeemed. I think that we can all be our mindset can be altered and changed in a positive direction. Unfortunately, it's taken too long for our young people to catch on to this. I caught on at a very early age. And we have our young people that wait too long. You can't wait until you're in your 30s or whatnot to make a change, because by then you're going to be part of the system. Once you become part of the system, you are labeled for the rest of your life. You are tagged for the rest of your life. Anytime that you come in contact with any type of law enforcement, as soon as they run your name, they're going to see that this person is a convicted felon. They're going to treat you like a convicted felon. So you're going to be treated a certain way, especially if you become in contact with law enforcement. You're going to be treated a certain way, because when they call your name in and they say that this person is a convicted felon, this person committed a robbery in 2015, this person aggravated assault, this person resisted arrest, this person did that and other, they're going to treat you as if you are still in the process of those crimes. And we don't have to go into how our police treat us. But when they see that you resist, you got convicted of resisting arrest with violence, when they see that you was convicted of assault and battery and convicted of attempted murder and things of that nature, they're going to have a heightened sense. They're going to be on a higher alert when they deal with you. So therefore, they're going to be a little brass, a little crass with you. They're going to treat you different, because once you're a part of the system, you are always a part of the system, and that's sad to say. As far as holding, there's a lot of success stories out there. There's a lot of success stories out there because where people had that went to prison and they did a bid or what have you, and they came out and they changed their life and they turned it around and they're doing positive things. They're actively employed. They're community activists. They're doing things. They're speaking to young people. They're telling them the way not to go, and they've been there, done that, and what have you. There's a lot of success stories. But there's a lot of failures as well. Unfortunately, based on the recidivism rate, there are more failures than there are successes. Because I think the recidivism rate is upwards of 50%. So there's half the people that walk out of prison walk back in there at some point in time. And that's because, one, you choose not to stay on the straight and narrow. Two, because the opportunities and the resources and the jobs and things of that nature are not available to you because of your status. And then you tend to go back to doing stupid shit, robbing people, stealing, selling drugs to try to make ends meet. But we have to come up with something. I'm going to stick with my first initial thought for every adult to be an adult. How we're going to get there, I don't know. I would love to hold classes. I hate to say classes, but forums or information sessions to talk to people, to talk to adults about being responsible adults. But the thing is, how do we get those who are being idiots? And I'm going to use that term. You guys know I use that term on a regular basis, so don't be surprised. But the question is, how do we get these people to come in an environment to where they're going to be told that the path that you're on is a path to destruction and that you need to get on a different path? How do we get those people into a controlled environment to listen to people that has some common sense, that has some information in regards to resources, that has information in regards to mental health services, job training, things of that nature, to come in and listen to these people? How do we get them to come in? How do we bait them in? I hate to put a situation where we have to feed you or entertain you to get you to come to something that's going to help you in your life. But oftentimes that's what we have to do. We have to feed people. We have to entertain them in order for them to come. Or we have to have something of value to sell, like some Jordans or Xbox or PlayStation or something like that. Jordan go and sell, you got to line out the door. You got to line all the way around the block. The new Madden came out, yeah, people camping outside trying to get the new Madden game. Popeyes had a chicken sandwich. Like, people lined up every day to get a chicken sandwich. But when it comes to making life decisions and better life decisions, if I held a forum today in Wahoo Stadium, and I put the information out there that we're having a forum on how to be a better adult, how to be a better role model, And I can put that on every billboard in Pensacola. I can put it on every post on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and all these other sites or what have you. And I get there and expect to fill up Wahoo Stadium, and there's only enough people to fill it one of the dugouts. That's how we kind of do things. We prioritize things that are not conducive to living a positive life. We'll line up for the silly stuff. We'll line up for the Jordans and the games and things of that nature. You'll line up for that, but you won't line up for something that will help you be a better person and help that young person be a better person. So I'm looking for ideas, people. I'm looking for ideas, and if you're just joining us, I apologize. I had other topics that I was supposed to talk about tonight, but this is such important. We've been talking about the violence that has occurred in our city in the last 2 weeks. There's been several shootings, stabbing deaths, all kind of crazy stuff that is going on in our city, and we have to get a handle on this stuff. If you just join them as well, one of those shooting victims of gun violence was my brother. You know, by the grace of God, his life was spared. He's got a long way to go, but he's on the mend. But we have a 57-year-old man that is damaged by being shot. We have a 18-year-old kid that's going to probably spend the next 15, 20 years of his life behind bars over something that doesn't make sense at all. So, but anyway, it is time for me to get out of here. It's time for me to get out of here. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. I'll be back on Thursday night. And we maybe continue this conversation, and hopefully I can get some people to talk with me on this conversation as well. Because I can sit here and talk to myself until I'm blue in the face, but until we have some dialogue going back and forth, the dialogue that's going back and forth is a little better when you have two or more people talking and trying to get to the same conclusion, if you will. So I want you to join me on Thursday night, right here again on WPMM Internet Radio, right here on the Truth with G, 6:00 p.m. Thursday. We will continue this conversation. Hopefully I will have some guests to talk to me. If you want to be a guest on the show in regards to talking to these issues, hit me up, inbox me, and we'll see what we can work out. Because again, I don't mind talking to myself, but I'd rather not. So anybody that want to be a guest on the show to talk about these issues, before I go, real quick, I didn't even get to this, and I will talk about this on Thursday night. Three black people were killed in a Dollar General store in Jacksonville, Florida, victims of a hate crime. Individual that shot him was a white supremacist, neo-Nazi, whatever you want to call him. He hated black people, and he targeted black people and went into this Dollar General and shot 3 people. What really pissed me off about the whole situation is unfortunate. My condolences and my heart goes out to those families that have lost their loved ones. My deepest condolences goes out to them. But what really pissed me off about this whole situation, that dumbass DeSantis, the governor of Florida, took his ass to Jacksonville for a vigil for these individuals, these black people that had been killed by a white supremacist, and he showed his ass up there and spoke at this vigil, and it was a political stunt. Showed up at this vigil to say, I'm going to give this HBCU, that the gunman went to first and was turned away, wasn't allowed on campus. He was turned away. Then he went to the Dollar General and killed people. But this governor, he's a racist himself, showed up at a vigil for 3 black people that had been killed by one of his people to offer money to the HBCU when you could have done this before these people died. If you were so concerned over giving money to these HBCUs, you would have done it already. But now that you are in a political season and you're running for president, now you use the death of these three people as a political pawn. You use those people, the death of those people, as a pawn. You are an asshole. You should be ashamed of yourself. You should never hold elected office or any type of office because you are a scoundrel. You are dirt. You are the scum of the fucking earth. Ron DeSantis, you showed up. And for you black people that was in Jacksonville, I'm just as pissed off as you as well, because you should have never allowed that asshole to speak at that vigil. He shouldn't have been there. You know he don't like you. You know he's a white supremacist. You know he's trying to erase black history. You know he's trying to run black people out of Florida, but you allowed that man to come to your city and speak at a vigil on the deaths of these three people where people like him killed. You should not have done it. You should be ashamed of yourself. I talk about this more on Thursday. I'm pissed off now. But I will get with you guys on Thursday. Thank you once again for joining me right here on The Truth with G. We'll talk about this more on Thursday night. It's time for me to get out here. You guys be safe. Y'all be blessed. And I'm out of here.